Everything in this video is CGI, even the cup. Today, I'll be showing you how to make your own short Blender fluid sim. Now, first you're going to definitely need the latest version of Blender downloaded, just in case. Next, you're going to want to change your options. Let's go over the easy stuff first. To move the camera around, you're just going to want to press down on the scroll button. You're just going to move the mouse and you don't even have to click with the regular thing. You just click down on the scroll button. Now to change the size of stuff, you're going to want to press S. You can just move your mouse and it'll change accordingly. Now you can also change it on a single plane by pressing like X, which will go along the X plane. Y will go along the Y plane, as you would expect. So I'm just gonna make that really long. And Z. Now X is red, Y is green, Z is up and down. Now Shift and A will allow you to add things. So I'm gonna just put in a sphere right here. See, I'm just going over the most basic Blender hotkeys, just in case if you're not familiar with this workspace. You can also press G to move it around, or you can just use this thing over here. This thing, you can move it around over here too without having to use the little mouse scroll button, but I prefer to just use this. But what you can also do is click on these little nodes, and it'll like make you complete flat vision, so you can like move it around perfectly with these other hotkeys. G allows you to move things around. R lets you like rotate. Control C, Control V for that kind of stuff. But an easier way to do it is just to do Shift and D, and then you can copy that. And cool thing here, if you pressed Shift and R at the same time, it'll repeat your last action. But here's the thing, it won't just copy this, it'll also record that it went down this much and to the right this much. So now you have your cube make like a little chain, so it'll go all the way down here. But that's not very useful in what we're going to be doing. So, oh crap, right. If we go into here, we've got tons of stuff here. E will allow you to extrude, that like pushes it out. It's different than moving. So like if I were to move, it like actually stretches with it. E makes an entire little section. See, there's like a little cut right here. Loop cut is very useful. Control R, most of the time I just grab it from here. I don't like using the hotkey. It just feels like it would be kind of useless. Personally, useless for me. I'm gonna stop talking now. I'm just gonna explain the rest of the stuff. For this one, I might be using inset. I probably won't. Bevel is pretty useful when you want to like smooth out something or give it like a finish. Like that looks like an obelisk now, and you can go down here. This will give you like info on what you just did, which allows you to also go like, oh, I want this icosphere, I want all the spaces to be evenly spaced out, but this is really low poly, so I can just increase the subdivisions there. Now, the difference between a UV sphere and an icosphere is how all the vertices are spread out. Now, if I go into here, a vertice is each little point on an object that controls where each thing is. So like if I go back here, each little dot is being filled in, and that creates like a side. Now you see how these are all like evenly spaced out, and then over here we got the UV sphere, and they're pretty good. It's just that computers don't really like squares, and also you've got a bunch of stuff just bunched up over here. So like, and if I select it, you'll see that all of these vertices, they're all clumped up towards the top, but this one, they're all evenly spread out because they're made out of triangles.
now that we've gone over the basic stuff, we can really get into making a fluid simulation. So you're going to want to size up a cube. You don't really have to. I just like to have this sort of shape for a fluid sim. Now, I'm just going to use wireframe because you can actually see through objects. You can access a bunch of different options up here. Basically, they change how it's rendered and different shaders. So, like wireframe you could see through, but I'm just gonna put like a little sphere up in the middle of here, and so I'm gonna move it around, probably towards the top, although you could put it anywhere you want. It doesn't really matter as long as it's inside of this box. Okay, see all these tabs? You're gonna wanna go down to here. You're gonna wanna select fluid, and then you're gonna wanna go into type. Now you want to make sure you're selecting the box on this one. You're going to want to choose domain on the box, change domain type to liquid, and you're going to want to change the resolution division. That little square at the bottom of that cube right there, that shows you how small the smallest drop of liquid can be. Now all this stuff is kind of complicated. Now I'm going to change the length of the animation to 400 frames. And I'm going to set it to modular. You're also going to want to change the frame start and end to 400, or the same as your animation. That's found under cache. Now you're going to want to bake data. Now you're going to want to change this little sphere to liquid. And you're going to want to change the behavior to inflow. Inflow makes water flow in, or liquid flow in. Outflow makes it disappear. Now you're going to want to bake the data. Now you can see that you have like some blue stuff in here. So when you press space to play, it'll drop, but it's not really an object yet. It just looks like a bunch of like blue dots. So you don't even need the inflow like little sphere anymore because it's all the data is baked into your domain. So you can now get rid of that. This is basically baked in. What it means for something to be baked is that it will basically record and simulate what's going to happen, but then it'll record everything that happens so that every time you play it, it's the same. So basically, what you just did was you just recorded all of these particle positions every frame. Now, alright, so you could basically put a cube down, go into the same modifier and go to effector and change that to collision if you want to add like an obstacle, but I'm just going to keep that out. Now, it's not really an object yet, so you're going to want to go down, check off mesh, and press on bake mesh. Now, finally, we have our actual object. As you can see, it's fully like meshed out. It's an actual like object. So you could just move it around, get it to be pretty flush with the z-plane of 0. I did not put a plane beforehand, so I'm gonna do that now. This is just proving that you can kind of add in stuff afterwards. And as long as you follow what you did... Okay, that's a bit too big. As long as you follow some of the parameters that you set before, like how big your cube is, you're able to add like a little like box or something, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to add like a little box to hold this in. And it's not really going to change anything because it's baked in, remember. So you're not going to be able to actually change how the fluid flows unless if you free the data in the mesh. So I'm just gonna inset this, and I'm going to try to make this flush with the liquid. There we go, that looks good. So now that we have our box, I'm just going to... So basically, you can shade this smooth instead of shading it flat. That'll make it look much smoother. Give this like smooth looking finish. And you're going to go up to the shading tab at the top. Now, this is the material that it's made out of. You can change the color, you can change the metallicness. I really suggest just playing around with this to get a feel for it, because a lot of this stuff is complicated and you won't really be able to understand it. And like, some of this stuff, for a beginner, looks completely alien. Like, what the heck does this do? I mean, you can see that it turns black. That's because I'm currently in the Eevee engine rendering thing, so I could go up to here and change that to cycles and go to the finish. This is what it's going to look like when it's finished rendering. Now, since I just switched to cycles, you have all this grain. I'm just going to continue to use Eevee. It just means I won't use this specific shader. And I'm going to... You can also use Shift A on here, too, so you can place some new stuff here. I'm going to go to emission, just turn it orange. Now, it looks like it glows a little bit, but not all that much. So what you want to do is you want to go over to here, and you want to check off bloom, stuff like that. You could put on ambient occlusion, which basically just improves the lighting. Screen space reflections makes things like shiny and reflective on smoother surfaces. So I'm just going to put in principled, principled. I'm going to change the color up maybe even change like the metallicness. You can even change the emission from here, so if I just turn that up, wow, that glows bright. So change it to orange. It kind of looks like molten gold now, doesn't it? So yeah, I'm just gonna, after a while, I'm just gonna cut to when I'm done playing around with the shaders. That looks cool. Well, that looks really cool. Okay, so to change like the camera, you could manually move it around and just like test how it looks post render, but that's kind of inefficient. So I'm gonna go to View, Active Camera, and then Navigation, and you're just gonna want to go down to Walk. Now you can move the camera around just by like using the WASD. E and Q will move you up and down. Space will teleport. Scroll will change your moving speed. Alright, so now that I'm done playing around with my shaders and I've edited the box a little bit, so it looks kind of weird now. It kind of looks like scrapey and stuff. Rough. So before I'm going to render this, I want to change the file format. So I'm going to change this to a video resolution. You could check any of these off. I just prefer AVI JPEG. Now, you could choose between black and white or red, green, blue. It just means either you want it in full color or if you want it to be black and white. Now, you could change the FPS right here. You can change the resolution up here. But to render your thing, you're going to want to go to Render up top and then choose Render Animation. Or you can click Control and F12 at the same time to render an animation. Thanks for watching, and I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you could show me some results, maybe in the comments, like a link to like a drive file, that would be cool. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. But other than that, that's really just about it. So if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot to me. And have a good day.